Hello, my majestic Leo lions. If you're a Leo between 50 and 70, stop whatever you're doing, yes. Even if it's just staring at the kettle waiting for it to boil, and give yourself a roaring round of applause. You've made it this far without being caged in a zoo. And that's no small feat. I'm Sophia from Zodiac Wisdom, your cosmic cheerleader, here to tell you that your best days aren't behind you, they're charging toward you like a lion on a mission. So, grab your tea, or coffee if you're in the States, and let's light up that inner fire together. Let's talk about you for a second, shall we? You're a Leo, born under the blazing sun. With a heart so big it could warm up a dreary London afternoon or melt the iciest New York winter. You're the one who walks into a room and makes everyone turn their heads. Even if these days it's more because you've misplaced your glasses than because of your dazzling charisma. Don't worry, we've all been there, pretending we meant to let someone else find them. You've got that regal spark, that unshakable pride, and a spirit that refuses to bow down, no matter how many candles are on the cake. But I get it, life hasn't always been a red carpet parade lately. Has it? Maybe you're sitting in your cozy armchair somewhere in Paris or Chicago, staring at a stack of bills and wondering, dear son, why can't you shine some gold into my bank account? Or perhaps you've had those mornings where you look in the mirror and think, where'd my roar go? Did I leave it in the 90s along with my old Walkman? The world might have thrown some cold winds your way, tight finances, creaky knees, or the kids moving out and leaving you with a quiet house and a Netflix subscription you barely know how to use. It's enough to make even a lion feel a little less kingly. But here's the thing, my fierce friends, I'm not here to let you wallow. Oh no, I'm here to flip the switch and crank up the heat. That fire inside you? It's still there, smoldering under the surface, waiting for the right moment to blaze brighter than a Eurovision spotlight. You're not just a survivor, you're a Leo. Which means you're a force of nature. A walking, talking supernova ready to dazzle the world in ways you haven't even dreamed of yet. Age? Peeved. That's just a number. Your spirit's timeless, and I'm here to prove it. So stick with me, because we're about to turn those embers into a wildfire, and trust me, it's going to be a show worth watching. Alright, my radiant Leos, let's get real for a minute, grab a biscuit, or a cookie. If you're across the pond, and settle in. Because I see you, you've spent decades ruling your kingdom. Whether it was raising kids who now think they're too cool to call, building a career that probably deserves its own Hollywood biopic, or just keeping the house from turning into a scene from Lord of the Flies. And now, here you are, somewhere between 50 and 70, sipping tea in Manchester or iced tea in Texas, asking yourself, okay, I've done all that, when's it my turn to live a little? I know the score. Life at this age can feel like a cosmic prank sometimes. In Europe, you're counting your pension pennies and wondering if you can still afford that fancy cheese from the market, or if it's back to the budget cheddar. In America, you're dodging grandkids who think your living room is a playground while secretly hoping your retirement fund doesn't run out before the next season of The Crown. And don't get me started on the quiet moments, those evenings when the house feels too big. The phone doesn't ring, and you're left wondering if the world's forgotten how fabulous you are. It's enough to make even a lion tuck its tail and take a nap. But let's not kid ourselves, you're not just anyone. You're a Leo. You've got a backbone forged in fire and a heart that could power a small city. Sure, the mirror might show a few more laugh lines, or wisdom stripes, as I call them, and maybe your roar's a little raspier than it used to be. But that doesn't mean you're out of the game. Oh no, my friend, you're not fading away, you're just upgrading to Leo 2.0. Think of it like a fine wine or a vintage car, sure. It takes a bit longer to get going. But once it does, everyone's jaws drop. Let's talk about those battles you've fought. You've stared down bills that looked like they were written in dragon blood, wrestled with sleepless nights over, what's next, and probably spent half your life convincing the world you're as invincible as you feel inside. And guess what? You're still standing. That's not luck, that's Leo grit. You're the one who can lose your keys, your temper, and your Wi-Fi signal all in one morning and still manage to laugh about it by lunchtime. Okay, maybe after a strong cuppa or a stronger glass of something else. Here's where the magic happens. Though, at 50, 60, or 70, you're not winding down, you're winding up. All those years of roaring through life have given you something no one else has, a treasure chest of wisdom, sass, and stories that could fill a library. You're not just the king or queen of your castle anymore, you're the wise ruler who knows how to throw a party and balance the books, well. Most of the time, the kids might have flown the nest. The job might have hung up its hat. But you're still the main event. And let's be honest, being a Leo at this age comes with its own perks. You've earned the right to say no without explaining yourself. To wear whatever you darn well please, velvet robe at 3 p.m.? Why not, and to laugh at the absurdity of it all. Sure, the knees might creak like an old rocking chair, and maybe you've got a love-hate relationship with stairs, but that fire in your soul? It's still burning hotter than a barbecue in July. You're not here to fade into the background, you're here to remind the world that a Leo doesn't just survive, they thrive. So, dust off that crown, my darling, because we're about to turn the page to a chapter so dazzling. Even the sun will need shades to keep up. Alright, my cosmic Leos, it's time to pull back the curtains and peek at what the universe has been whispering about you lately. Spoiler alert, it's good news. I'm Sophia, your starry-eyed guide from Zodiac Wisdom, and I've got the celestial scoop for 2025. Picture this, the sun, your big, bold ruler in the sky, just sent out a memo that says, Leo, retirement? Not in my dictionary, whether you're sipping espresso in Rome or battling the wind for your umbrella in Dublin. The cosmos is lining up opportunities like a VIP guest list, and your name's at the top. In gold ink, naturally. Let's break it down, shall we? The sun's been your personal cheerleader since day one. And in 2025, it's cranking up the heat. This isn't some vague horoscope fluff. I'm talking about a cycle of rebirth that's custom-made for you fiery souls between 50 and 70. Think of it like the second act of a blockbuster movie. You're not hobbling off into the sunset, you're strutting into the spotlight. Maybe with a cane that doubles as a scepter. The stars are saying this is your time to shine. Not just for yourself but for everyone who's lucky enough to bask in your glow. You're not here to fade, you're here to dazzle. Even if it's from a cozy porch in Amsterdam or a sunny deck in Florida. Now, I know what you're thinking, Sophia. That sounds lovely, but I'm too busy napping through the afternoon to notice the universe knocking. Fair point. Life at this age can feel like the sun's on snooze mode, bills piling up. Joints groaning louder than a rusty gate. And the only thing knocking is the neighbor complaining about your cat. But here's the kicker. Those battles you fought? They're not baggage, they're your cosmic training montage. Every time you've wrestled a budget, charmed a grumpy cashier, or survived a family reunion without losing your roar, you've been leveling up for this moment. The universe isn't testing you anymore, it's handing you the mic. Let's get a little starry-eyed with an example. Take a look at a Leo legend like Madonna, still rocking the stage at 60-something. Twirling like she's never heard of ibuprofen. You might not be planning a world tour, unless you are. In which case, call me, I'll buy a ticket. But you've got that same spark. Maybe your stage is the local gardening club, where you reign supreme over the roses. Or the kitchen, where your lasagna could win an Oscar. The point is, the stars see you as a headliner. Not a has-been. Age 50 to 70 isn't the end credits. It's the part where James Bond swaps the Aston Martin for a sensible sedan but still saves the day. Probably with a stack of coupons instead of a gun. Here's the fun part. The universe isn't just cheering from the sidelines. It's tossing you the keys to a new adventure. Maybe it's a chance to turn that knitting hobby into a side hustle. Imagine scarves so fabulous they sell out faster than Glastonbury tickets. Or maybe it's finally writing that memoir titled How I Survived the 80s and Still Look This Good. Whatever it is, the stars are winking at you, saying, go on, Leo, give 'em something to talk about. Sure, you might trip over the cat on your way to greatness. But that's just part of the charm. So, next time you're gazing out the window at a rainy day in Berlin or a sunny one in LA, know this, the sun's got your back. And it's ready to light up your world like a disco ball at a 70s party. Don't sleep through it, or at least set an alarm. My dazzling Leos, we've established the universe as your biggest fan. Now it's time to step into the ring and reclaim your fire. I'm Sophia from Zodiac Wisdom, and I'm not here to sugarcoat things, unless it's on a scone. Because, well, yum, you're between 50 and 70. And yes, life's thrown you some curveballs, financial squeezes, creaky bones, and maybe a wardrobe that's 90% slippers. But you're a Leo, darling. You don't just roll over, you roar back. Let's reignite that flame in 3 big areas: money, health, and purpose. Buckle up, it's about to get fiery, and a little cheeky. Money matters, turning passion into pennies. Let's talk cash, or lack thereof. I know you'd rather splash out on a bottle of Rioja than stash it away for a rainy day, and in England. Those days are endless, but here's the secret: you've got talents begging to be turned into gold. Love painting? Stop hiding those canvases in the garage where even the chickens would cluck in awe. Sell them. Etsy's calling your name, and your sunset scenes could fetch more than a $5. Brilliant in the kitchen? Host a little cooking class, online via Zoom if you're tech savvy. Or in your backyard if you're not. Imagine teaching folks in Paris or Phoenix how to make your killer shepherd's pie while raking in some euros or dollars. You don't need a fortune to start, just a sprinkle of Leo swagger and a Wi-Fi signal that doesn't hate you. Who knows, you might even earn enough to upgrade from budget cheddar to the good stuff. Health and spirit, keeping the fire stoked. Now, let's get that regal body and soul back in the game. I'm not saying you need to run a marathon, unless you want to. Then go for it, you crazy lion, but a stroll in the sunshine does wonders. It's not just good for the heart, it's a chance to flaunt that silver mane you've been rocking like a natural crown. Yoga? Give it a whirl, but if you get stuck in downward dog, just call it a nap and blame the cat. The goal here isn't perfection, it's feeding that Leo flame. Sit with a cuppa and tell yourself, I deserve this peace, because you do. And don't sleep on the social scene. Ring up an old mate and reminisce about the time you nearly set the kitchen ablaze with too many candles. You're a Leo, you shine brightest with an audience. Even if it's just one friend laughing over the phone. Purpose, your next roar. Finally, let's talk about what lights you up inside. You don't need to climb Everest, honestly. Who has the knees for that? But you do need a spark. Always wanted to write a book? Start scribbling. My Life as a Leo, too fabulous for subtitles. Or teach your grandkids how to roar like a lion instead of meowing like a kitten, seriously. Save them from that fate. Love gardening? Turn your backyard into a jungle and strut around like the ruler you are. This isn't about grand gestures, it's about finding that thing that makes your heart thump like it did when you first heard ABBA. You're not done, my friend, you're just getting started. And the world's still your stage, even if the spotlight's a bit softer these days. Here's the deal, you're not old, you're a vintage Leo. Aged to perfection with a side of sass. Sure, the bank might not agree, and the mirror might throw some shade, but that fire? It's still there, ready to blaze. So, whether you're in a quaint cottage in the Cotswolds or a condo in California, start small, sell a scarf. Take a walk, plant a seed. Before you know it, you'll be ruling your kingdom again. Probably with a cup of tea in one hand and a profit chart in the other. You're a Leo, go make the sun proud. And maybe leave the ibuprofen within reach. Just in case. My unstoppable Leos, we've lit the spark, now it's time to fan it into a full-on inferno. I'm Sophia from Zodiac Wisdom. Your cosmic coach with a penchant for pushing you fabulous lions out of the den and into the spotlight. You're between 50 and 70. And yes, the sofa's calling your name louder than ever. But you're not here to snooze through life, you're here to roar. I've got 5 simple, sassy steps to get you moving today. No excuses, no fancy equipment needed. Just your Leo heart and maybe a cup of tea to keep you company. Ready? Let's make the sun jealous. Step 1. Look back at your victories. First things first, grab a pen, or a crayon if you're feeling artsy, and jot down 3 times you've made the world bow down in awe. Maybe it was that time you cooked a roast so perfect the family forgot to argue. Or when you navigated a foreign city with no map and still found the best cafe, even if you pretended you knew where you were going. These aren't just memories, they're proof you're a warrior with a mane. You've survived decades of chaos. From perms in the 80s to Wi-Fi outages in the 2020s. And you're still here, smirking like the regal beast you are. Write it down, stick it on the fridge, and remind yourself, I'm a Leo, I don't just win. I dazzle while doing it. Step 2. Set a tiny, roar-worthy goal. You don't need to conquer Rome overnight, start small. But make it fun. How about learning a song to belt out in the shower? Pick something easy, maybe Sweet Caroline. Not opera, unless you want the neighbors banging on the wall thinking you're auditioning for Phantom of the Opera. Or plant a herb in a pot and name it something grand like King Basil. It's a goal that grows with you. The trick? Choose something that makes your pulse quicken. Even just a little. You're not too old to dream, you're too Leo to sit still. So, set it, commit to it, and watch that spark turn into a flicker of pure joy. Step 3. Reconnect like the social lion you are. You're a Leo, solitude's fine for napping. But you thrive with a crowd. Even if it's just one old pal. Pick up the phone and text someone you miss. Hey, you still alive? We're too fabulous to fade. Dig up a memory, like that time you both got lost trying to find a pub and ended up dancing in the rain instead. Or join a local group, book club, knitting circle, whatever floats your boat. You'll walk in, flash that Leo grin, and suddenly you're the star of the show again. Connection fuels your fire, so don't let it fizzle, reach out and watch the warmth flood back. Step 4. Turn passion into pocket money. Time to make that Leo magic pay off, literally. Got a knack for baking? Whip up some scones and sell them at the farmer's market. Call them Leo's Royal Treats, and watch them vanish faster than free samples at Costco. Love tinkering with stuff? Fix up an old chair and flog it online. Just don't accidentally sell your favorite slippers in the process. True story. I'd bet. Start small, €50 or dollars a month is still a win. You're not aiming for a mansion in Monaco, you're proving that your fire can heat up your wallet too. Roar your way to a little extra cash. And maybe treat yourself to that fancy cheese you've been eyeing. Step 5. Believe in your flame. Last but loudest, stand in front of the mirror. Look yourself in the eye. And growl, I'm a Leo, and I'm not done yet. Okay, maybe don't growl too loud, don't want the dog thinking it's dinner time, but you get the gist. This is about owning your power. You're not some flickering candle, you're a bonfire. Even if it's the slow burn kind that saves on firewood. Every day, whisper it, shout it, or just think it, I've still got it. And the world's about to see it. Belief is your fuel, and you've got a lifetime of it stored up. So, puff out that chest, adjust your imaginary crown, and strut into tomorrow like the ruler you've always been. These steps aren't rocket science, they're Leo science. Which is way more fun. Start today, even if it's just scribbling a victory or texting a mate. You're not too old, too tired, or too anything, you're too Leo to let life pass you by. So, go on, my lions, give the universe a show it won't forget. My radiant Leos, we've danced through the stars, stoked your fire, and plotted your comeback, now it's time to bask in the glow. I'm Sophia from Zodiac Wisdom, and I've got one last love letter for you before we part ways. You're not just a survivor of 50, 60, or 70 years, you're a walking, talking flame that could light up a blackout in Birmingham or a heatwave in Houston. You're not a candle about to sputter out, you're a forest fire. Just the classy kind that burns slow and sips tea while it's at it. Age might have silvered your mane, but it's only made you shinier. And I'm here to crown you for it. Think about it, you're still the king or queen of your castle. Even if the throne's a bit comfier these days and the scepter's just the TV remote. Life's tried to dim your sparkle, bills, creaky hips, grandkids who think you're a climbing frame, but you've laughed in its face and kept shining. That's not luck, that's Leo magic. Whether you're sipping gin in Glasgow or sweet tea in Georgia, you've got a spirit that refuses to quit. The sun's proud, the stars are jealous, and I'm over here cheering like a fangirl at a Beatles reunion, if only. Right? So, what's next? Simple. Keep roaring, even if it's just a rumble these days. Sell that scarf, plant that herb, call that friend, every little step is a spark. And you've got enough to start a blaze. You're not done, you're just getting warmed up. And the world's still your stage. Even if the audience is mostly cats and the occasional nosy neighbor. I believe in you. The universe believes in you. And it's high time you strutted out there like the Leo legend you are. Here's my parting gift, a little nudge to keep the conversation going. Drop a comment below and tell me, where do you want your fire to flare up next? A new hobby? A cheeky side hustle? I'll reply to every single one. Because you deserve to be heard, unless you're asking how to outsmart those grandkids. Because I'm still working on that myself. You're a Leo, my darling, a light that never fades. A roar that echoes through the years. So, adjust that crown, or that woolly hat. No judgment, and go light up the world. The best act of your life? It's starting right now, and I've got front row seats.